Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 823A, and today's date is November 20th, 2015, and the title of this episode is The Global Economy is Now Approaching a Critical Stage. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, on this Friday, it looks like the high-frequency traders, the plunge protection team, they were able to keep the market up in the positive range to give us that happy Friday, which they always like to do. And what we're seeing is that the economy is completely ripping apart and it's crumbling. And we're entering a critical stage at this point. And when we look at the data, we are starting to see that things are starting to accelerate. And the central bankers, the U.S. government, they will do anything and everything to keep this economy afloat. I mean, right now in the auto lending market, the subprime market, we see that the loan bubble at this point is over $1 trillion. And we can see they are doing the same exact tactics as they did with the housing loans. Basically, they're bundling all of these loans and selling them off. And what we're seeing is that 154 million in paperback by collateral pool, wherein 75% of the loans were made to borrowers with credit scores less than 600. 14% of those loans were made to borrowers with no credit at all. And what they're doing is they're doing exactly what they did during the housing bubble. And right now we do have a housing bubble going on right now, and it is ready to pop and completely implode on itself. And right now we're looking at this and we see that the auto loan industry has been pumped up. They don't care who they give an auto loan to as long as they're spreading the debt. Lenders now have extended more than $110 billion in auto loans to borrowers with credit scores below 660 over the past 6 months alone. Experienced Senior Director of Automotive Finance, Melinda Zabritsky, says, hey, there's no subprime auto loan bubble. This is nonsense. And we know that they've done this before to us, where they told us there's no bubble. The housing industry, prior to 2008 collapse, told us there was no such thing as a housing bubble. And here we are with an auto loan bubble, a derivatives bubble, a treasury bond bubble, a stock market bubble, a housing bubble, debt bubble. We have bubbles all over the place. This whole economy is one big bubble driven by the central bank. That's it. The people are on the sidelines right now. Now, John Rubino is asking a very important question here. If stocks are continually rising, but corporate sales and profits are falling, why would companies hire more people if they're selling less stuff? The answer is that they probably wouldn't. Business sales and employment have tracked closely since the 90s. When sales have fallen, companies have responded with less hiring and more firing. But this is not what we see today. We actually see the opposite. We actually see corporate profits and sales declining, and companies are hiring, or it's an illusion of hiring because the unemployment rate is an illusion. So are they really hiring at this point? Because what the government is trying to tell us is that all these corporations, their profits and sales are completely imploding. And they're trying to convince us that all these companies are hiring. And they have all these job recs open, saying, yes, we want more people to come in. And I've said this before. I worked for a corporation, many corporations, and every time there was some type of hiring freeze, the hiring freeze was internal. What they would do is they would keep the job recs open. We actually had people come in for the interview, even though we could not give them a job, because there was a freeze on hiring, but they didn't want to lose the job wreck. So they kept this illusion that we were continually looking for people. And this is what's happening out in the industry right now. Everything is crashing, but they're keeping the illusion alive that people are still going to be getting jobs at these corporations. And we know this is furthest from the truth. What we're seeing is more and more layoffs. And at this point, manufacturing, retail, they're going to be letting people go. Because this economy right now is completely collapsing. The Baltic Dry Index is down to 498, down another 6. This is the first time this has ever happened. And when we look, we see a number of dry bulk operators have filed for bankruptcy, while others have been forced to delist from the New York Stock Exchange. One of the Greek owners of 18 dry bulk ships said, "It's a bloodbath. I've been in business for 25 years and I've never seen it this bad." And this is the recovery, people. This is the illusionary recovery that they're trying to convince us of. Now, yesterday I mentioned that Obama's going to veto the new bill that Congress is putting together, form. It's passed the House. And Janet Yellen is very worried about this. She's been writing letters to the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. And it is a sign that the central bank is a little worried about what Congress is up to. And Yellen's letter in particular is basically asking Congress what's going on here. Why are you moving down this path? And we have to remember, the Constitution grants Congress monetary powers. These include the power to borrow money on the credit of the United States, to coin money and regulate the value thereof, and to provide for punishment of counterfeiting, to regulate commerce, and to fix the standard of weights and measures. Congress, if they wanted to, could dismantle the Fed completely and entirely. So what are we seeing here? They're nervous because they want more transparency into this private corporation. They want to see what they're up to. Why are things going the way they're going? Now, is this going to get any further? Most likely not. It will hit the president's desk and it will be vetoed. Because we know the central bankers control the executive branch. We know this is who they report to. Now, the BRIC members, they're going to be using their own currencies, and they're going to be using this in foreign trade payments. Russia is proposing this, and they're doing this to completely separate themselves from the dollar at this point. They're saying there's no reason to even use the dollar. It makes more sense to use their own currencies. Europe right now, after the Paris terrorist attack, they're going to be looking at getting rid of weapons, as we know. They're also going to be looking at getting rid of virtual currencies. If you notice, everyone's using what happened in Paris to use it for their own different agendas. The central bankers are using it to get rid of all virtual type of currencies, because this is what they're saying is this is what terrorists use. They use electronic currency to move currency around very quickly. They're also trying to ban cash. Now, why are they doing this? Well, the reason why they're doing this is because basically it is a threat to the euro and to the dollar, to the central banker's currency. Because Bitcoin is one of the most common virtual currencies, and it is used as a vehicle for moving money around the world very, very quickly and anonymously via the web without the need of a third party. And guess what? Central bankers do not like this. They don't like gold. They don't like electronic currencies. This is a problem for them. And we realize they don't like cash either. Much harder to keep track of. This is why they want everything electronic using their system. When you go outside of their system, they have a problem with it. And this is what Bitcoin does. This is what gold does. It goes around their system. This is why the BRICs are saying, let the nations use their own currency. This is why Russia and China decided, you know what? We don't need to use the dollar anymore. We're going to use our own currency. And as we move forward, what we're going to see is more and more countries do this, and we will see the dollar continually die off as time goes on. And this is a problem for the central bankers. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.